Hey everyone. All right. This week's video is on artificial intelligence. Now, Pi doesn't have anything directly to do with artificial intelligence, but I mean, just that symbol alone, makes you think of artificial intelligence, doesn't it? All right. Well, it's just a banger t-shirt, in my judgment. 3.14. Yeah. Anyway, thought you'd like it. All right. This week's video on artificial intelligence. If you remember from Banyan Hill days, I've been talking about artificial intelligence becoming the next big thing for a while. Now, it's taken a bit to get going, but everywhere you go now, in every field, there is some new release about artificial intelligence. We actually just got a notification from Slack. Our team at ATG Digital, we use Slack to communicate, and they are going to take all of the data, which is what? All of our messages, and begin to use an artificial engine to generate all sorts of responses, anticipate things. So this revolution is exploding out. And so today's video, I want to tell you about a secret. All right, it's not secret like in the CIA, kind of way, but secret meaning that no one's really thinking about this stock as an AI play. And I'm going to tell you why I believe it's an AI play. But before I do that, I have to go through the standard thing that I like to do at this moment, which is talk about our disclaimer. In other words, this video, anything that you read, hear, watch from my company, ATG Digital Media. So I do updates over there. We also have a free Substack. We have subscriptions where there are video updates. We have reports, all of that, not investment advice. Past performance does not equal to future results. There are no guarantees. There are no certainties in investing, speculating, trading. Any of the material that we put out, we could be making errors, mistakes, have oversight. We are human beings. This happens. Capital loss is a likely outcome. In other words, you are not guaranteed of a profit. However bulletproof we think our ideas might be and how sure all the information seems like that to points to a certain outcome, the future is always uncertain. You just never know. So, hey, it could end up in a loss, and you need to be prepared for that and understand that. Last, I, the owners, contractors, employees, and associates of ATG Digital own, trade, transact in the investments that are mentioned in this video, and for that matter, in all of the content that is published by ATG Digital Media. All right, so let's get down to this moment in AI, and why is it happening now? What is it actually doing? Well, all right, so before you have AI, you got to have like a lot of data. Like a lot of information. And it can't just be like any information. It has to be sort of like sorted out so that you can write code to kind of like go through it in a way where, computing power matters. You got to like process all of this data. So you got to have like historic data, but some historic data, you have to reformat it. And then if you reformat it, you might make it into garbage. You have to have current data. Because, of course, what matters to people most today is, well, what is happening today, and, of course, what is going to happen into the future. So data transforms itself into information. Then you use data and information for, what creates value in today's world, which is, hey, tell me what's going to happen. Project a potential situation. Use, so here's the data. Here is, what is important to us, what matters to us. These are assets. Project some situations. Provide outcome-based decision choices. In other words, create like, hey, so these are the choices that might be, available to you under the constraints or circumstances that you have, and then help choose, some sort of preference or choice, and then create some structure, planning, preparation, so that you can actually choose that. Yeah, it seems like a lot that AI can do all of this. Well, it can't make the decision for you, but it can help you point help point to what is the right decision. And then it can also help you prep and prepare and plan for the decision that it has guided you to. I know some of you are thinking like, whoa, Paul, would I really want all that? Well, AI can provide this. And at this point, it certainly looks like, this information is all passive. I know there's a lot of doom scenarios about AI, but maybe that's coming in 15 years or 20 years. We're not there yet. Right now, we're still in very early stages where we can control this technology, we can use it, and can definitely help us in human life, especially in healthcare, where, in my humble judgment, in my humble opinion, this is a very undatafied field. For verification, next time you go and visit your doctor, some provider, just look at how many times they are actually like citing sort of previous evidence for what they are choosing to do, what they're recommending to do, or just in general. Just see how many times you are actually using data and information in this field. And then when we do get data in healthcare, it lacks context. In other words, you might get information that is for maybe by age group, but sometimes that is not the context that you need or want to make the actual decision. Each person has a particular sort of, for their condition, for their disease, for whatever is wrong with them, they have a certain desired outcome. Some people want to have, get better very rapidly. Other people want to minimize side effects. Other people are willing to accept a little bit more pain to get a more fuller recovery, or willing to take medications that, that have particular problems, but maybe the benefits for them are worth taking it. So your personal condition matters a great deal. So everything points to that we need an app that really kind of like integrates, obviously, historic information, collects real-time information, current information, integrates it, synthesizes it with data, creates information, and then creates artificial intelligence guidance in the way that I laid out earlier. All right. Before I tell you about this company, just want to mention, say very clearly, this is an ad and a solicitation for atgdigital.media. That's the website for my company. We have subscriptions where we issue trades, trade ideas in stocks, crypto, options, and subscriptions start at $9.99. Not $999, $9.99. And if you want to sort of like check out and feel out like, well, what do we do? What kind of companies do we cover? We focus exclusively on growth and innovation. And you want to check us out, well, the Substack is free. So there's no subscription required to read our Substack. And that's at paulmampilli.substack.com. All right. With that said, the company that is the secret AI play, in my judgment, in my opinion, is Teledoc. And I'm going to get back to this slide. Somehow got rearranged out of order here, Teledoc. But I was going to tell you that anyway in this slide. So Teledoc is, if you go and download their app, like this is the app that really, like right now, connects you with your provider for a very limited set of healthcare practices, if you will. For example, if you're looking for mental health, Teledoc is widely used. They're expanding into other places right now, but it does what I laid out earlier. It sort of like integrates, synthesizes, collects, and then can also suggest what, it can suggest a coach, for example, for people with diabetes. So it integrates all of the information for the current places that it covers. In other words, it does what we need that app to do to be able to take artificial intelligence and really use it to improve our healthcare system, our health, and how we use all the things that that are part of it, medicine and surgery and procedures, and so many different things. All right, back to this one, this time in order. So Teledoc today is this really small company. Its stock price is $25. Remember, stock price by itself does not tell you everything, or sometimes even anything. You got to look at market capitalization. Market capitalization, Teledoc is now a $4 billion company. So Apple, just so you understand, is like a $2.7 trillion company. So while 4 billion sounds like a big number, relative to size in the stock market, really, 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 really pretty small. We're not talking micro cap, but we're still talking small. In other words, if what I'm about to lay out happens, I mean, you can have massive, incredible growth. I mean, from 4 billion, you can, it's not a stretch to see a company that is dominant in its field get to 40 billion, or over time get to 400 billion. Remember, I mean, every big company that today, used to be a small minnow company earlier. So just keep that in the back of your mind. All right. So the next step for an app like Teledoc is to expand the number of applications that they have. They just recently had a release where they're going to expand into weight loss and some other areas of healthcare. And so now incorporate that and now start to give you advice and guidance with respect to your health condition. But the critical thing, and the really like the gold nugget here, is that this is going to be based on your own information. You see, I mean, I can go on the internet and Google for any condition that you might have, and that's there, but I don't have access to your specific set of data. But if you have an app that actually has all of your data, and you can apply an artificial intelligence engine that can give you guidance, coaching, some kind of recommendations, prioritize based on, might be your past medical history, might be your genetic history, might be what you're currently experiencing at the moment. I mean, this would seriously improve how we go through the healthcare system, but it would improve our health in a big way. All right, flipping this to sort of like the finance part of this video. So Teledoc just recently reported they've got plenty of cash. They've got like $888 million in cash. So, I mean, it's a lot of stuff going on with the bank run crisis. Banks are pulling in loans. So it's not a good time to be sort of like low on cash. It's got plenty of cash. The forecast is pretty modest for 2023, which is for 10% growth and about $2.6 billion in sales, which in my judgment, and if everything that I'm telling you about artificial intelligence, 10%, I think is going to turn out to be very, very low. I'm going to lay out a scenario where I sort of double that, but I think like even that is low, but I'm just going to go with that because I don't want to be accused of like hyping stuff or anything like that. Now, one of the ways to judge whether a stock is sort of cheap or expensive, especially if you're a growth investor, is to look at the company's value relative to its sales. So I told you that its sales are about 2.6 billion, and its market capitalization was like in excess of about 4 billion. So its price to sales is like, a little bit under 1.74. Now, you'll see that at the peak, which was all the way back in August 2020, at the peak for price to sales, that is, in terms of like valuation. In other words, is the company cheap or expensive relative to itself, relative to other companies that are growing, growth stocks, as people might put it. Well, at that point, at its peak, it was 25.6 times sales. So in other words, people were really, really excited about Teledoc's growth prospects, that they're willing to pay $25 in sort of stock price for every dollar in sales that Teledoc was generating at the time. Its peak quarter of growth, as you know, companies report their sales quarterly. So the peak growth rate, which was back in March of 2021, was 151%. 151%, which came in March of 2021. And you know the environment in which it came. This was sort of like we had COVID, everything shut down, you couldn't go see your doctor. Instantly, everybody went to telemedicine. And then, they had these massive growth rates. And then as the vaccinations came, as economies opened up, telemedicine usage plummeted relative to 2020, but it still has captured a significant share, especially in the areas of mental health. And there are other places where people have either trouble getting to their doctor, or else they're in rural areas, they don't have access to doctors. There are plenty of places where they have kept much higher market share. I believe the market share went as high as 60 or 70% at the peak of COVID, and it's now somewhere in the 20s or so. And from here, it is going to keep building. And the forecasts point to, as you'll see, to an acceleration in growth from where they are today. So right now, they're experiencing about 10% growth. Analysts, in my experience in Wall Street, they don't really, go out on a limb and forecast very high growth, unless sometimes it's in their interest to do that. Generally, otherwise, they're just going to look at kind of like what the last year was and use that. But if AI is as big a deal as we are seeing, because of ChatGPT and Palantir just reported today, and they're saying that, huge adoption, well, then, Teledoc is going to see some acceleration, some adoption of AI, which in my judgment could even make this growth rate, 24%, which is from this research agency, seem pretty low. Now, what would the price, let's just say, what would the price to sales be for a stock like Teledoc if we saw a re-acceleration? Because right now at whatever, I think in 2022, they had quarters when Teledoc just grew by, I think, 6 or 8%. Because, when you have like a very big growth bump, it becomes hard to grow your sales from a very high level where, people are expecting another 20 or 30%. So right now, people are looking at Teledoc and they are, not that enthused. They're not like where they were paying $25. They are paying, just a little under $2 for every dollar in sales that Teledoc is bringing in. So I just did like some forecasts to based on my experience, which is that I've been in the growth market for investing, speculating, periodically trading as well for a while. So a little bit is a rule of thumb, a little bit is intuition, a little bit is data, a little bit is, all these different things. But let's just do some math here. All right. So 2022, Teledoc has $2.4 billion in sales. So that's kind of easy. I went with a base assumption of 20% growth. I think 10% growth, especially over the next 2 or 3 years, and that's pumped. Maybe 2023 will be 10%. I doubt it. I believe pretty much that come year end, it's not a guarantee, we're going to see that Teledoc surprised, growth on the upside. And the market will be shocked, and analysts will be like, "We're upgrading it. We're lifting our forecast." It's all sort of like a predictable game. But I'm going to go with 20%. If I was going to go on the upside, I might go as high as 30 or even 35%, for some big quarters. But at 20%, 2023 sales would be 288, 2024 would be 3.46, and 2025, 2025, 4.15 billion. Lost track of where it was on the slide. So let's go with some price to sale ranges. Which is that, if you're growing at 20%, your company's not going to be valued at 2 times sales. You're going to, especially if you start to deliver it consistently, you're going to get to something like this range, in my experience, 10 to 15 times sales. At 10 times sales and 4 billion in 2025, you get to 40 billion in terms of market capitalization. That's about it's not quite 1,000% gain, but you're talking 4 to 40 billion. So it's 10x's your return. If we were to see 15 times sales, that would be 60 billion. And so that's 1,500% approximately. I know that math doesn't account for the base, but just go with me, rounding numbers. In other words, in success mode with growth accelerating, with a catalyst of artificial intelligence underpinning it, even at 20% and with a normalization in valuations, yeah, I mean, Teledoc could be an absolutely huge, massive stock market winner. All right, just some things that I thought about after I put everything together, which is that many people say, well, Paul, why would I buy something for 2025 right now? Because in bull markets, and we are beginning to emerge into one, I mean, the reactions to various stock prices that I've seen, whether it be Shopify, whether it be Palantir, or even today, I saw a number of reactions which are more in keeping with what you tend to see in a bull market. In a bull market, investors look forward and they anticipate and discount the future. In other words, they're like, oh, this growth is coming and I want to buy in ahead of that. And that sort of like capitalizes, those numbers into valuations. So what you see in regular markets, bull markets, is that as investors have more confidence, they come with lots and lots of money to bid stock prices higher, because they're like, well, I can see that 20% growth rate is actually either too low or is very certain. And either or both of those things together tends to give investors confidence, and they come to buy, and then they're unwilling to sell. So then new investors each have to come and bid prices higher, and this is how you get valuations moving up. And then, as I've laid out, AI, which is really not in those forecasts, because when those forecasts were come about, we didn't have ChatGPT come out yet. But AI is now sort of like, unleashed. Every industry is looking for, hey, do we have data? Do we have information? How can we apply this information? How can we create value? And so AI was not included in that. AI could increase growth to 30 or 35%. If that's the case, the revenue numbers that I came up with were going to be higher, and potentially even the multiples would be higher. Maybe it's 15 to 20 is the range. All right. Last thing, risks. Well, hey, maybe the growth is just not going to happen. And in other words, everything that I'm seeing, thinking, whether it be about AI, telemedicine, adoption, acceleration, not going to happen. Maybe telemedicine is just going to turn out to be like a fad that, it's going to like pass. It was just a COVID thing and it's going to go to zero. Or else maybe the growth happens and nobody cares. In other words, they see 15, 20% growth, but maybe the market just doesn't care. And then Teledoc stock sits here forever in this range. I mean, those are all possibilities. So that's the video for this week. Secret AI stock, telemedicine, dominant platform, Teledoc, potential for, at least based on my forecast. Remember, these are opinions and estimates and not guarantees and certainties. Potentially 1,000% return over the next 1 to 3 years or so, maybe as high as 1,500%, maybe even higher. All right, if you like this video, hey, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, check out atgdigital.media or else my Substack.